That is Wham! And The Edge of Heaven, and this is Chester's D Radio. So for the last few weeks, we've been supporting the Kind to Your Mind initiative being run by councils and the NHS across Merseyside and Cheshire to support people's mental well-being during the coronavirus pandemic. And today we're going to talk about exercise and sleep and the importance of that on not only our physical health, but our mental health too. And I'm pleased to say we've got Elly McFahn with us, who's the Managing Director of Brio Leisure. Hello, Elly.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, you sound bright and breezy and like you've been up for hours and already done a rigorous exercise routine.
Well, I am quite bright and breezy, and I have been up and I've done my 3-mile walk with my dogs about 7 o'clock this morning, but the weather is beautiful, so that all adds to it, doesn't it?
It certainly it makes it easier to get up and go out of the house when the weather's nice on a fine sunny day, doesn't it? Plus, of course, if you've got dogs, as everybody should know, you need to walk them before it gets too hot on days like this.
Indeed, it's been far too hot the last few days, just not going out any later than about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're going to talk about exercise. This is something, as Managing Director of Brio Leisure, you know a lot about. Of course, it's so good for our physical health, that's obvious. But what might be less obvious is how good it is to our mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And having that routine, I think, of exercise and sleep, because we're talking about those, is really critical to getting that good night's sleep and doing things at the sort of the same time or around some of the commitments you've got. And we know in the current climate, you know, it's particularly hard for parents who are juggling home working and schooling as well. But we've got lots of exercise activities for families to help them out there. We've got lots of online activities. We've had to really change how we deliver our services, whereas normally you would have been coming into Northgate Arena or Crittleton Leisure Centre at a certain time to do an activity. Now you've got the capability of either doing it online at the same time you normally did, or you can download it and you can fit it in around your other commitments during the day.
It's ironic, isn't it, that at this time when an awful lot of people, not everybody by any stretch of the imagination, but an awful lot of people have got a lot more time available than usual that they could spend coming to your exercise classes at Crittleton or Northgate, and of course you're shut.
Yeah, absolutely. And people have had to really radically change their routine. And again, you know, that significantly can impact on sleep as well. And it's limiting what you can do. But I think sometimes it's not thinking about what you can't do. It's about what you can do differently. And we've got an array of instructors and gym instructors who have been doing a whole range of classes online. They've been doing them in the garden, they've been doing them with the dogs, they've been using suitcases to innovatively make people feel better and more motivated by the current climate. So it's about fitting things in a way that works for you, and a way that keeps your mind calm, as you rightly said too.
Yeah, so what sort of classes are you running online at the moment? I know some of them have been really, really popular.
I mean, literally, you can do pretty much anything you could have done in a venue, a Brio venue. So if you like something a bit calmer of an evening, or you want to sort of wind down before you go to bed, yoga's the thing for you, and it's a relaxation class. If you want something, as you said, to get you up and sorted first thing in the morning, if you fancy doing a HIIT class before you start your day's work or before you sit down with your kids to do the homeschooling, you can literally pretty much do what you want. And because they're online and because they're available, you can download them and you can do them when you fancy. And there's a range of classes for families to do with children as well. So if you want to break the day up with your children and they've been stuck at the desk a bit and it's looking really lovely outside, get the Brio Bear video out and get together as a group and do it.
And I guess if you're doing homeschooling, you could use some of your exercise videos as a sort of a PE lesson. And everyone loves PE, don't they?
Exactly, and I suppose that's really hard now for families trying to sort of work that in, maybe, and they're dashing back to the computer because they've got to pull up 6 emails and respond to the boss or whatever. And you can get the kids onto that video while you go off and you do a few bits for you before you have to go back and focus on them.
OK, yeah, this all sounds really good. Now, just talk us through, apart from the obvious sort of benefits to your heart and everything, just talk us through some of the other benefits that we get through exercising.
I think that's where the sort of the mental side of it comes in, the mental health. And it's that ability to calm down and to take maybe a meditation video to consider time out when you've had your busy day as well. It's really important to clean your mind as much as it is your body. And we've got a really good chill out playlist to listen on Spotify if you want to go on and have a look at that. Or, beyond Brio, it's things like reading a book before bed, or it's some relaxing music as well. It's really critical.
And you can just sometimes feel stresses just sort of drain away the minute you start doing even modest, mild exercise. Maybe a sort of a brisk walk outside. You can feel sometimes your mind just relaxing and going,
Yeah, there's so much evidence about fresh air and particularly mindfulness and getting into the countryside if you can. And I know that's not possible for everybody, but certainly getting out in the current climate when the weather is as nice as it is, I think has been hugely advantageous to the current climate. And if you can't get out, if you're in a flat or you've only got a very small outdoor space, it's calming things like breathing and just general relaxation or taking time out having a bath. There's lots you can do, and there's lots of support out there as well in the current climate. And you mentioned Kind to Your Mind earlier on, and there is a helpline out there for people. If you need some support, you just need to chat to somebody else. There are a lot of people who are in isolation at this moment in time, whether that's shielding or whether they live on their own. And it's really, really important to understand that it's just not you. There's a lot of people feeling in exactly the same position right now.
And if you do get in the routine of doing some exercise, you might find, if you're struggling to sleep, that it helps in that regard as well.
Yes, definitely. And trying to do things at the sort of same time so you can get into that routine day in, day out. Because all our routines have been chucked out the window, really, in the current climate. We're all juggling doing things at different times. So trying to get some sort of routine in place is really good, really good.
OK, well, I'll give out that phone number for the for Kind to Your Mind. It's a 24/7 helpline for anybody in the area that feels like they need to talk to somebody about their mental health if they've got concerns. I'll give that number out in a sec. But just before we let you go, Elly, we know that the leisure industry is sort of a long way down the list, really, of in terms of when it will be allowed to reopen. So what is the industry doing to prepare for when that day does come? And it will come at some point.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. Yeah, and we're very fortunate, actually. There's a very good infrastructure in industry working directly with government to pull together trialled and tested processes. And elsewhere in the world, leisure has already reopened. We see in America and in Hong Kong, for example, in Italy, Switzerland, there are people that are already starting to trial gyms and opening them up with social distancing. So we're able to watch, if you like, and look at the rest of the world before we do anything particularly radical and drastic in the UK. But safety is the absolute number one priority, and certainly all of my team are looking at how we were going to deliver activity on site again when we come back to reopening, and how we can engage with customers about what's safe and how many people might go into a class and how we might need to put a class in a different space because there's more room, and what PPE you would need to wear to come in and do that, and what would need to be cleaned properly. So people come back feeling really safe, and we've seen schools obviously start to go back this week, and that's been critically important to parents to understand their children are going to be safe, and we would want to do the same for the leisure industry.
Yeah, I suppose it's sort of a concern, is it? Because there are people sweating and puffing and panting, and that, I suppose, presents a greater risk of the virus being transmitted, passed on. Does it? Is that why the concern is so great about the leisure industry reopening?
I think the sweating bit is a bit of a misnomer, and I think some of the articles that have been written. No. Certainly, in terms of sweat transmitting the virus, I don't think that's accurate. But certainly, people are breathing heavily, and we know that if people sneeze or breathe heavily, that has a further transmission rate. So all of those factors are playing into the design of safe standards, and there's been pictures in the media of other gyms in the world where there's perspex screening between them, and like we would see in a supermarket, and then others where people are wearing masks to go and do the activity, others where it's more preferable to do it outside. So we're pulling together all of the industry advice at the moment and watching, really carefully what's happening across the rest of the world to pull all that together so that we can provide environments for people to exercise when we're able to, that are utterly safe to come back into. I
suppose we've just got to accept and understand that when the health and well-being industry, when it reopens, like most other sectors, it's not going to be exactly how we left it in the middle of March, is it? There's going to be changes.
Not at all, and there won't be anywhere near as many people able to go into a particular area like a swimming pool or a gym or a fitness class. at all, because you've got to maintain that social distancing. But I guess that's one of the real benefits of the online functionality that the world has had to address and manage through this process, because you'll have that choice whether you want to do a class online or you want to come in and do it into a Brio environment when we go forward. So it's giving people more choice in a way.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank goodness for the online world. And thank you, Elly, for coming on and speaking to us. Interesting and useful information there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Elly McFahn, who's the Managing Director of Brio Leisure, talking about the importance of exercise to our mental health and how exercise could help us sleep as well. And a lack of sleep is not good for our mental health, as we know, so it can be a vicious circle. Some great information there from Elly. And that phone number that I mentioned, the 24/7 helpline, operated by the Kind to Your Mind campaign, if you've got any mental